You hear those horns, you know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome to episode 21 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. This is your main man, T-Square, Tristain Thomas here. Thank you for joining us. So glad to be here. And let us get right into State of the State because we have some serious business to discuss this week. The Bucks had a fantastic win tonight against the Boston Celtics, who are currently number 3 in the Eastern Conference playoff standings. Snapped a 5-game losing streak. Moose came off the bench while Jason Kidd continues to play mad scientist with his lineups as we've come to know him to do, which is causing a lot of inconsistency, but I digress. He had a fantastic game, 29 points, 12 rebounds. The craziest 1 second you will ever see in any basketball game. Moose hits the jumper, 1 second remaining, give the Bucks the lead. The Bucks foul on the other end. The Celtics hit 2 free throws to tie the game. The Bucks get fouled on their end with 0.6 left. Chris Middleton goes to the line, hits one, intentionally misses the other free throw. They escape with a 112-111 win. As great as that win was, as good as Moose looked, MCW had a pretty decent game. Those two are on the trading block, folks. Those two have been made available by the Milwaukee Bucks for trade. We're talking Greg Monroe, a guy who just came here in free agency, signed an $80 million max deal, and you're ready to deal him already. Now, we know the book on MCW. This squad is way under 500 since acquiring him. People talk they messed up with the chemistry when they traded Brandon Knight. The one thing he's been consistent at all season long is being inconsistent. We've seen that. We know that. Maybe they've grown tired of that, so they've made him available. I've even heard reports saying that, hey, you would have to make some type of crazy deal, but we will listen to offers for Chris Middleton, another guy who signed a big money contract. Jabari Parker, who was just 2 seasons ago the number 2 pick in the entire draft. I mean, this is crazy to me. The dismantling of this squad has begun. I just don't get it. I don't get this. I don't get how, and let's make this clear before I even go any further. I've even heard in some circles that Giannis may be available, but they are going to ask for a crazy deal in order to make him available. But out of all those names I mentioned, out of that starting 5, he is the most untouchable. You would have to give up your entire team and all your picks for the next 5 to 7 years to get Giannis. And this is one thing I've continuously said. If anybody's untouchable on this team, it is Giannis. He's a worldwide ticket, and he continues to evolve into being a good player. Obviously, the growing pains are still there, but he's still entirely young. There's still time for him to grow. We've seen him flourish year after year after year. He's adding something different to his game. We see what he needs to improve on. He goes and works on it, and it comes back and improved. So if anybody's untouchable on the squad, it is him. You would think a guy who signed a max contract would be untouchable. You would think another guy who signed a damn near max contract, and Chris Middleton, would be untouchable. No, they're touchable. It would take a crazy deal, but they're touchable. Are you kidding me with this? Explain to me your logic. You guys went hard after Greg Monroe. Oh, we need you. We need your inside scoring. We need your rebounding. You knew the book on this guy. And let's be clear. The defensive deficiencies this season are not squarely on the shoulders of Greg Monroe. Has he helped on defense? No, he has not helped on defense. But you knew this when you went and pursued him. You knew he was a defensive liability, the same as Jabari Parker. You knew when you drafted him he was a defensive liability, but yet you decided to go and draft him. So if you decide to go after a free agent, knowing the full book on him, and then you get into the season and he's been as advertised, a double-double machine. I believe I think he's 6th in the league in double-doubles. Had his 27th double-double tonight against the Celtics. You know the book on this guy. He's been as advertised. He's a great offensive punch in the post. He will get you the rebounds, but he is not a rim protector. He is not a defensive player. He averages less than a block a game. Literally less than a block. 0.9 blocks per game. You knew the book on this guy when you went and pursued him. You still went and pursued him, gave him all this money, and now you want to trade him? Because he's not good on defense? Because he's not the right puzzle piece? He's not the right fit? That's not on Greg Monroe. That's on you. And that tells me one of two things. Actually, it tells me both of these things. One, you guys took two huge swing and misses on two guys, that being Greg Monroe. And we're talking purely defensively, because on the inside, he has been absolutely as advertised. He has been fantastic down low. Double machine. That is what you were getting out of him. You knew this already. So defensively, I'm talking, you took a swing and a miss on him. You traded defense for offense with Greg Monroe. So you missed on him. You missed on MCW because he, like I said, the only thing he's been consistent at is being inconsistent. We've all seen it. We've got a year's worth of tape on him. In the Bucks uniform, he has been consistently inconsistent. So you took two huge swing and misses on those two guys. And the second thing this tells me is that you didn't have a damn plan to begin with. You don't have a plan. Last season, it was all about defense. It was all about defense. The whole reason why this squad could not get out of the first round against the Chicago Bulls last season was because they could not muster up enough offense. So in order to go and fix that problem, you guys decided to go and pursue an offensive threat down low, which is something you sorely needed. You knew the book on this guy when you went and pursued him. You knew he was not a rim protector. You knew this. And now you want to say, oops, sorry, we made a mistake. We gave you a bunch of money, but we don't want to play with you anymore. What kind of absurdity is this? What kind of tomfoolery is this? This is the type of thing that pisses Bucks fans off. It's the type of thing that frustrates the hell out of me, because this is the same thing that Herb Cole's regime did year after year after year after year. Turn over the roster year after year after year after year. Give out horrible contracts to horrible players that do not work year after year after year after year. This is what got you 30 seasons of mediocrity. 30 seasons of mediocrity. This type of move is what got you 30 seasons of mediocrity. And you came in and said, we're going to own the future. We're going to do things differently. And you rebranded and you made all of these promises. And now we're reverting back to what the last 30 seasons have always given us. We have one good year and then we're gone the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. Nobody gives a damn. You constantly overturn this roster. You give a bunch of bad contracts out to bad players and you wonder why it doesn't work out. And I'm not standing here saying that Greg Monroe is a horrible player. Greg Monroe is not a horrible player whatsoever. He is a great offensive talent. You knew this. You knew the book on this guy. He was going to give you all the offense in the world down low. He was going to give you all the rebounding in the world down low, almost averaging 15 and 10 every single night. But you knew he was a defensive liability. And you're trying to make this team a defensive ball club. And this team hasn't really played a lick of defense all season. They've played it in spurts, but they have not put it together for multiple games and full games. They've lost a lot of games where if they played some defense, they would have came out with wins. They would have a lot more wins. They would have a lot more than 21 wins, because that's where they're at right now. You knew the book on this guy, and now you want to say, oh, well, you know what? This ain't working out, bruh. We got to go a different direction. That is you guys' mess up. You guys messed that up. I blame it on management. GM, coaching, I blame it on them because you guys don't have a plan. This proves it to me. You don't have a plan. You traded Brandon Knight, messed up all the chemistry. You guys were 10 games above 500 at the point in time that you traded him. You get MCW. You've seen the book on MCW. You know he couldn't shoot. You knew he was a turnover machine. Yes, he has some potential. And you wish he could just put that together night in and night out. He's had some fantastic games that say, okay, this is what they traded for. This is the guy that they traded for. This is why they went and made that trade, messed up the chemistry a bit because they knew they would get it back. And then you go and see the games that he has. Let's talk about the game of Portland he had where he had 2 assists and 20 plus minutes of playing. 2 assists in like 27 minutes. Against Portland. I mean, really? That's what you traded for? And that's one of many instances. I'm on the record of saying if they traded anybody, it would be MCW out of this lineup, out of this starting 5. I said that. And they made him available. I never would have thought in a million years they would put Greg Monroe on a trading block. And I would never thought in a million years they would sit there and say, hey, you know what? If you make a crazy offer, we'll listen to trades for Jabari Parker and Chris Middleton and maybe even Giannis. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that this ball club has absolutely no direction. They talk these pieces don't fit the puzzle. You guys don't even have the puzzle. You don't even have a direction. You don't know what you want to be. Last season, it was defense, and this defense suited you well. Your defense led into offense. You were one of the top defensive squads in all of the NBA. It was an absolute pleasure watching them play on that end because nobody could really score on those guys. The thing that you just wished was that they had a little bit more offense to go with that defense. And I think they saw that exact same thing. So they went and tried to go and get Greg Monroe. Or maybe they just tried to go and get Greg Monroe just to show that Jason Kidd could go and possibly influence anybody to come and play in Milwaukee. It's a new day in Milwaukee. We're gonna be able to loosen the purse strings and pay players to come and play here. We look at the young nucleus we have. We got a new stadium coming and all this, and that's all fine and well. But when you don't have a damn plan to adhere to and you're going to pick up players and give them max contracts and then turn around some months later and say, nah, we need to trade. We need to trade because this isn't working out. It's a lack of leadership. It's a lack of vision. And this is what got us 30 plus seasons of mediocrity. And I'm damn sick and tired of it. And I'm not the only one. I hear you out there on Twitter. All the Bucks fans, I hear you. I feel you. It is frustrating to watch this team go through this type of season when everyone had expectations. I'm on the record again as saying that people need to pump their brakes. I, for one, said this team would not win 50 games. I said that, so this is not shocking to me. What is shocking to me is the fact that they're not playing any defense. What's shocking to me is the fact that this team looks listless. It looks leaderless. It looks leaderless. Honestly, it looks leaderless because they have no direction. They do not know what kind of a team they want to be. They don't know what they want to build. How can you own the future when you don't know what you want to build for the future? The only thing that we know that you're going to own in the future is this arena. That's it. This is absolutely asinine to me. This is absolutely frustrating. Quite frankly, it pisses me off like no other. You would expect your owners and your GM and your coach and his staff to have a direction, to know what kind of a team they want to build and go forward with. And now you want to put those two guys on the block, possibly more if they come up with a quote unquote crazy trade. This proves to me you have no direction. This proves to me you don't know what the hell you're doing. This is not frustration talking. This is seeing the product on the court and now seeing the product of your trade block offers now. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. To me, all the credibility, all the goodwill that you built up throughout the league from last season when you surprised everybody and everybody saw that, okay, maybe this is going to be a team to reckon with in the future. 41-41, 6th in the East, pushed the Bulls to 6 games in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. This is a team on the rise, and you backslide. This, to me, takes away all of that credibility you built up over the past season. This takes all of that back because now everybody's looking at this saying, same old Milwaukee, same old Bucks. Nothing's changed. Because this is what everybody comes to expect year in and year out, because this is what we always get year in and year out. You have people out there complaining about why the Bucks don't get more love and why the Bucks aren't covered like the Green Bay Packers. Well, the Green Bay Packers, as frustrating as everybody is with Ted Thompson staying pat and not dipping into free agent all that often and whatever, his draft strategy, whatever, regardless of all that, they remain in constant contention for world championships. And that's what it boils down to. The only thing the Bucks have been in constant contention for over the past 30 seasons, 31 or 32 now, if you count this one, if you count the 2 years since Herb Cole sold the team, are 8th seeds and lottery. And nobody wants that. Everyone is sick and damn tired of that. You have a wealth of talent the same way that the Golden State Warriors have a wealth of talent. How can you not put it together? And I know there's going to be somebody out there that says, well, you can't compare the two. How can you say that the Golden State Warriors and the Milwaukee Bucks are on the same level talent-wise? I'm not saying complete roster, but they have some talent to match up with those guys. Because remember, who hung the first loss on those guys? Who could have hung the second loss on those guys had they played defense down the stretch? The Milwaukee Bucks. My point is, people are sick and damn tired of getting lottery picks and then having them be bust. Joe Alexander, anybody? Remember how everybody was raving about him coming out of college? And I was sitting there like, that is a trash pick. He's awful. And guess what? He was awful. But that is what this Bucks franchise continuously pumps out. Trash picks, garbage contract signings, horrible seasons that may end up with them backsliding into the 8th seed only to get swept by the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Constant roster turnover year after year after year. No consistency, no continuity, no nucleus, no excitement, and no interest. For all of the rebranding that you did, for all of this goodwill that you built up over the last season, all that magic is gone. That honeymoon is over. The moment that product that you guys put onto that court started failing on the defensive end, really didn't have it together on the offensive end, was the minute all of that dissipated. I love my Bucks. I really do. But what I don't love is the same old garbage that keeps getting pumped out year after year after year. Why can't Milwaukee be in constant contention for world championships instead of just playoff spots, mainly the 8th seed or lottery picks? The talent is there. You would think the basketball minds that they have in that building, that it would be there. You got Ron Thorne. You got John Hammonds. You got Jason Kidd, who is an intelligent player. You got owners that are highly intelligent, billionaires. How are you not better? And how are you not making better decisions than you are? Why would you put those guys on the block? It's a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of anger, and a lot of frustration. But we're going to keep tabs on that and see what comes of it. Because I'm really interested to see that the trade deadline is February 18th. I expect a flurry of moves to be made to make some guys who may be on the fringe of contention to be legit contenders. I see a lot of teams who are not going to do anything, including the Bucks, and making some moves. And the big question I have is, for who? Who would you trade these players for? What would you get back? So that's going to be the interesting thing to see if they decide to really pull the trigger. But by the mere fact that they put those guys on the block shows me they don't have a damn plan. So it doesn't matter who the hell they bring in here, because until they figure out what the hell they want to do, their asses is going to be in the same spot that they're in right now. And we're going to go right back to that same mediocrity we've had when Herb Cole was the owner. And God bless Herb Cole. He saved basketball in the state of Wisconsin 2 times, and that will forever be his legacy. But nobody will confuse him with being a winning owner. And right now, the new owners, they're looking exactly the same way. And people are sick and damn tired of it. It's time for y'all to do something different. Get some real good basketball minds in there. Get somebody who can get these kids to play consistently on the defensive end. Do what you need to, but don't make any more stupid moves. Get it together, keep it together, and march forward. Let's continue on the state of the state and take a breather away from that bit of anger, because that just gets me fired up. Let's travel to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and talk the Green Bay Packers again. We talked about it and said the same thing last week. What could have possibly transpired for you to be talking about the Green Bay Packers now that football season is completely over? And we'll have a recap of that in the tall sweep. But now that Packer season is over, well, I wouldn't be talking about them if something big didn't transpire in the offseason, and something big did transpire. You know, a guy who used to wear number 4, his name was Brett Favre. I don't know if you remember him. He kind of looks like Zeus now, with a big gray beard and white hair and guns. Yeah, that guy, the old gunslinger, well, you could call him Mr. Hall of Fame now, because he was elected with many others to the NFL Hall of Fame. It was announced Saturday at the NFL Honors, the day before Super Bowl 50. And this debate took all of 9 seconds. Literally, the debate on him, it wasn't even really a debate. It was put up to a vote, and he was in 9 seconds. He was unanimous. It was no question. He was not going to miss it. Side note, I feel that Terrell Owens is kind of snubbed on that one. Look at his numbers. He's a Hall of Famer. He may not have gotten in this year, which I felt he should have, first ballot. But I think you can book him being in there next season. No doubt about it. He deserves it. But Brett Favre is in the Hall of Fame. There was no question about it. 9-second discussion on whether or not he deserved to be enshrined on the first ballot. And he was. He will definitely lead that class. There's going to be a lot of green and gold in Canton, Ohio this summer. And I believe because of Brett Favre being enshrined into the Hall of Fame, the Green Bay Packers will play in the Hall of Fame game the day after the Hall of Fame enshrinement. Correct me if I'm wrong. You could get at me at D20double on Twitter if I'm wrong about this, but I believe the Vikings played in the Hall of Fame game last season and ended up having to play 5 preseason games. That is not good. I don't like that. I think that should count as one of your preseason games. This is not a good deal, because you got a guy who went down with injury last season in preseason. And look, anybody can go down. Anybody can go down at any time. Anybody can go down at any time. I get that. You have freak injuries with guys taking showers. You have freak injuries with guys cooking or tripping over the table, and just freak injuries. So guys can get hurt in any way. Just walking, they can get hurt. But I would be very careful with how I use my personnel this upcoming preseason, because I believe it's going to be 5 games that the Packers have to play if they end up playing in that Hall of Fame game. I don't know if there's going to be something different, but I could have sworn that the Vikings played 5 preseason games because they played in that Hall of Fame game in the preseason. So I would hold Jordy Nelson out of almost all of those games. There's no reason for him. I mean, I guess get some chemistry back with Aaron Rodgers or what have you, but I would not be playing him. If I can, I would hold him out the entire preseason, not play him any significant time. If he does end up getting played, I would be very careful with how I use my personnel, because the last thing this team needs is injuries, because we saw what they had this season. It was a rash of injuries and a rash of guys having career low years all at once, and they still went 10-6. They still were in the hunt for the division in the last game of the regular season, and they won a playoff game. Could have won a second to make it to the NFC Championship game, but we've seen how that went in overtime with the Cardinals. So despite the rough year, it's still a pretty decent year. Even with all the injuries, even with all the career low performances from just about everybody on the offensive end. But Brett Favre in the Hall of Fame, and there was no question about it. As soon as you saw the ballot, there was just no question about it. He was going to get in on the first try. A lot of us grew up with him. A lot of us grew up with the old gunslinger. We've seen some of the greatness of him. We've seen some of the not so great from him, but he was always there. He was the Iron Man of the NFL. He was the consummate gambler. Those gambles led to a lot of wins. They led to some heartbreaking losses, but he was always having fun. And that is the one thing nobody can deny about Brett Favre. He played all the time. He was always there, and he played with a big smile on his face. He played with the spirit of a kid, and that's what endeared him to everybody. So I love the guy. I do. I'm so happy for him that he made it to the Hall of Fame. It's where he belongs. There was no question about it. I don't think anybody was going to debate whether or not he should be in or not. No question. 9 seconds, that just tells you there was no debate. There was no question he deserves to be there. After all he's done, put up a bunch of records, which most of them are getting broken by Peyton Manning now. And again, we'll have more on him later in the toss sweep. But it was just an absolute pleasure to be alive and watching and growing up watching greatness like that. And how spoiled are Packers fans to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, who is, you're watching greatness right there as well. Yes, he had a rough year, but that is absolute greatness you're watching. So appreciate it, because we are not always going to have a great quarterback. We're not always going to have great coaching, a great GM, a great brain trust up there that builds a team that's going to be in constant contention. You have to appreciate what you have now before it's all gone. So I am just so appreciative that I got to see Favre play at his peak and his prime. Brought a championship here. Had a chance to bring another one, but we all know how that went down to Super Bowl 32. But Brett Favre taking his rightful place in the Hall of Fame, and I am so happy. And if the Hall of Fame's out there listening, hook your boy up with some tickets to come and see that. I would love to be there for that. Get at me at the 2-0 double of the Hall of Fame if you're listening. So that's the state of the state. The Bucks are starting to dismantle this squad. I don't know why. It makes me mad. It's the same recipe that gave us 30 plus years of mediocrity, and they're going right back into that trap. I don't want to get on it again because it's going to give me a heart attack. And Brett Favre, 9-second discussion on whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame, unanimously voted in, not even a question. It's going to be a big time party come this summer in Canton, Ohio for him. Congratulations on that. Coming up on Toss, we have to run the toss sweep. We got to give you a recap of Super Bowl 50. The winners and the losers, and somebody was a sore loser. We'll be right back. TossShow.libsyn.com is a place where you can find each and every single episode of Toss ever made. So why don't you guys go over? That's TOSSSHOW.LIBSYN.com, TossShow.libsyn.com. Make some time to play some Toss. Welcome back to Toss, everybody. Tristain Thomas here with you, and it's time for us to run the Toss sweep. Super Bowl 50 happened this past Sunday. Kind of uneventful, really, as far as the game went. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some entertaining points, some great plays that were made, but not really the more exciting. It wasn't like last year's Super Bowl, that's for sure. It wasn't the exciting interception at the goal line with the game on the line. Wasn't that. It was straight domination by this Denver defense. Denver, your world champions. The Sheriff gets his second ring which some people out there who will remain nameless, but I'm going to call them idiots, felt that he needed to win to cement his legacy. Are you stupid? Really? Are you an idiot? Why does he need a second ring? Let me school you on something. Do you know how many great players are going to play this game and never, ever get a ring, much less make it to the Super Bowl? That does not make them any less great. Do you know how many Hall of Famers are in the Hall of Fame that never won a championship? Most notable is Dan Marino. Made it to the Super Bowl once, never made it back. He thought he would. He's even said he thought he would, but he never made it back. So there are going to be greats that play this sport and other sports that amass a resume that is just unbelievable, but will not win a championship. That does not take away from their legacy. That does not make them any less of a Hall of Famer. That does not make them any less of a legend of their sport. If Peyton Manning didn't win another ring, if he never made it to another Super Bowl besides the two he made it to with the Colts, he would still be great. He would still be a legend. He would still be a Hall of Famer. The work that he puts out on the field, that is what cements his legacy. Championships are icing on the cake. It is what you play the game for. And when you can get 53 others together to achieve that, that is just icing on the cake. But that does not cement someone's legacy. They are great no matter what, and they don't need jewelry to say that they're great. It's something that adds to it, but they don't need the jewelry to say they're great. But I did say on Twitter that I'm happy that he got another crack at it. I would not be surprised if Denver came out with it. I did pick Carolina because I thought their offense would be able to make some plays against this Denver defense because they faced tough defenses before against Seattle, against Arizona. Those are two tough defenses, some of the top defenses in the league that they faced, and they were able to go out there and score points on those guys. I thought they would be able to do the same against this Denver defense, but they were playing at a completely different level. Von Miller was just unstoppable, and that's for lack of a better term. There were no answers for that guy. You could put anybody on the block him. You could put every Hall of Fame lineman up against him to try and block him, and he would still not be stopped. He was on another level. He deserved that Super Bowl MVP. And he got that. He deserves it. Just phenomenal game. I mean, just beastly. And could you imagine if the Packers had that kind of a pass rush relentlessly? Wow. That would be something. That defense was just on another level. The Panthers couldn't pass it. They couldn't run it. They couldn't do anything. It was just absolutely suffocating. That was just one of the more dominant defensive performances in the Super Bowl I've seen. Just absolute dominance by those guys. I'm happy for guys who got a ring, for certain guys that got rings on the squad. Obviously, you're happy for Peyton Manning. He gets his second. Now Eli can't say, I got 2 rings, you got 1. Now they got the same amount of rings. Big bro caught up with you. Try again next year. So I'm happy for him. Not that he needed it, but it's really good to see him. He's been 4 times. He's won 2. I'm just happy to see that for him. A guy like DeMarcus Ware, longtime Cowboy, came over, just been the consummate professional, hard work, really good influence, and for him to really to finally get a ring for all the hard work and for being the decent human being that he is. That was really, really good to see. A guy like Wade Phillips, who's been all over the league as a defensive coordinator and as a head coach, he coached his ass off. He put it all together. This was a special season for him, and to see him get a ring was just fantastic to see. He really put in a lot of hard work, was out of football last season, came back and put it all together on this defense, and they were dominant. There was no defense better than those guys. Gary Kubiak, you're glad to see him get a ring. I mean, after the whole thing with the Texans and his health scare and the fact that he really built up the Texans and got them to being a good team and respectability and a force, and then they felt they needed to part ways with him, and then here he is in Denver, and Nobody really believing in him, even though he really did good work in Houston. And he came out, now he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. John Elway, proving that you can be a Hall of Fame player and a very good general manager, a very good front office person. It's possible. Not everybody's going to turn out like Michael Jordan. Okay? Not everybody's going to be a Hall of Fame player and then turn around and be an awful front office person. Because let's be real, Mike has not exactly been great in the front office. Okay? He really hasn't. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. He really hasn't. So you're happy for guys like that. And you have all the happy feelings for the winners. And then you go over to the guys who lost that game. And you feel for them because it's many, many, many months of hard work and dedication, sacrifice, injuries, pain, all of that. To go to the Super Bowl and win that Lombardi trophy and you don't do it. It's heartbreaking. It's tough. But there's a way to deal with that and there's a way not to deal with it. Greg Olson dealt with it with class. Riverboat Ron Rivera, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, dealt with it with class. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Cam Newton was absolutely classless about this. Now, before I get on this, because we all seen the press conference, he acted like a perpetual child. There's people out there who say, oh, well, when LeBron left the Eastern Conference Finals after they lost, he didn't shake hands. Nobody batted an eyelash. Oh, when Peyton Manning lost the Super Bowl against the Saints, he left without shaking hands. Nobody batted an eyelash. Yes, they did. Oh, yes, they did. Oh, they did. And they were just as damn wrong. They were wrong. They were dead wrong. There's a right way to lose and a wrong way to lose. Now, the thing that really, really got on me is the fact that Cam Newton goes out and says, oh, well, show me someone who's okay with losing. Show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. Well, put up a mirror to your face because you're a loser. There's a way to deal with things and a way not to deal with things. This season, we felt that Cam had matured on the field, as far as gameplay, because we've gone over it. They went over this ad nauseum in Super Bowl week. Oh, the dab and the dancing and the smiling and is he threatening and yada, 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 blah, 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 a lot of garbage that really doesn't matter. Just filler for the week at the Super Bowl. This is a case of him being able to dish it out, but not being able to take it. Oh, he can go and dab and dance and smile with a towel on his head and hand the balls to kids after touchdowns and rip Packer signs down. He has no problem doing all that. But when he gets his ass kicked, when he decides to not put his all into the game, because let's be clear, that fumble that he decided to just stare at and jump away from, as opposed to jumping into the pile and trying to get the ball to give your team keep the possession and keep the drive going, was disgusting. And it showed you. It showed you right there. It was just disgusting. It really was. It was just absolutely disgusting to see. This is the Super Bowl. You got a guy like Thomas Davis who broke his forearm just 2 weeks prior, had surgery, 11 screws and a plate in his arm, over 40 plus stitches. He comes out with a gigantic bionic cast on his forearm. He's out there playing hurt. Jared Allen, broken foot. He's out there playing hurt. They're still out there sacrificing their bodies, scratching and clawing at 100%. And you make a business decision to not go after the fumble in the Super Bowl when there's no tomorrow. This may be the only Super Bowl you get to, and you have the gall and the audacity to act like that in the press conference. How dare you? You embarrassed yourself on the field and you embarrassed yourself at that press conference. There's a right way and a wrong way to deal with things. I get being an emotional player. Back in my playing days, not professional, but when I was an athlete, back in my playing days, I was an emotional player, but I did not let my emotions get the best of me. There was a right way and a wrong way to act. When you lose, you man up. You go and shake those man's hands. They beat you. You deal with the fact that they were the better man. You use that as fuel to come back even more hungry the next season. Even better the next season. You get down, you get after it, full bore, 1,000%. You face that head on. You don't hide underneath a hoodie. You don't give 2-word answers. You don't get up and walk away like a perpetual child because you hear the champions in the background cheering, celebrating. You face that head on. You be a man. Don't be a boy, be a man. Because this is a man's game. That was a disgusting display on the field when he did not go after the fumble, and a disgusting display after the game in that press conference. I hope he learns from this. I truly do, because I do like Cam Newton. I've been a supporter of the guy back in his college days. I love what he brings to the table. There's nobody like him. But he has to learn from this. He has to grow the hell up. You're 26 damn years old. Everybody's talking about, oh, he's young. I've had conversations with many people about this. Oh, he's young. He's 26 years old. He's old enough to know better. That's no excuse. I bet if his kids were old enough to be playing the game and they acted like that, he would get on them about that. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things, and he did things the wrong way. And all I could do is hope that he grows from this, that he learns from this. He comes back and is hungry and is more of a gracious loser because he has no problem dancing and smiling and dabbing and ripping signs down and handing balls off the kids when he scores a touchdown when his team is winning. But the moment things go wrong, the moment that he's getting his ass kicked, oh, he wants to curl up and drop to the ground and be a little boy and hide behind his hoodie and pout and slump over in his chair and walk off after about 3 minutes of a press conference or however long he was there. It wasn't that long because he hears the winners celebrating. I understand these people are human. Sometimes emotions get the best of you, and I'm just hoping that he learns from this. And I think he can learn from this. But we'll have to wait until next season to see if he has learned anything from this. If he's going to come back even more fiery, even more hungry, if he's going to lead his team even better, if he's really going to give his all to keep his team in the game. Because in the Super Bowl and after the Super Bowl, he showed to me that he won't. At least not right now. This is Toss. All right, y'all, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This has been episode 21 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. Thank you so much for listening. We continue to grow worldwide. Hey, everybody in Africa, everybody in Australia, the UK, New Zealand, everywhere around the world that is listening to Toss, thank you guys so much. This is why I do it, because we are far reaching and we continue to grow. Toss Nation is growing more and more each and every single day. And I thank you all for that, because I do this for you. So thank you all for the support, and let's keep it going. You know the Facebook page, facebook.com/TON-Sports-Show. That's TON Sports Show. Touches on a lot of topics that we don't cover on the show. So if you want more bits and bytes and tidbits and things of that nature, go to TON Sports Show. That's facebook.com/TON-Sports Show. You know the Libsyn page, TOSSSHOW.LIBSYN.com. You can listen to each and every single episode of Toss ever made. And you know what? You can also get those episodes on iTunes and on Stitcher. Leave a comment, leave a rating. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know what you want, because I do this for you. So get at me there. Get at me on my Twitter at the20double. I keep it entertaining. Live tweets, games, controversy, debates, arguments, whatever you got, bring it on at the20double. But be respectful, because you will get blocked if you're not. But I love all of you, so I won't block you too much. At the20double on Twitter. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is Tristain Thomas reminding all of you that dreams don't catch themselves. Get up, get out, and get after it. Until next week, so long from Toss.